Imagine your entire life, every memory, every relationship built on a lie. What if the person closest to you, your own sibling, held the key to a truth that shattered everything you knew? Today, I'm revealing the shocking secret my sibling kept that fundamentally changed my perception of my family and myself, leaving us to navigate the devastating aftermath. For most of my life, I believe I came from a normal, loving family. Nothing extravagant, nothing broken. Just ordinary people trying their best. We laughed at the dinner table, argued over trivial things, and celebrated birthdays together. From the outside, we looked whole. I never questioned it. Why would I? Families aren't perfect, but ours felt stable enough. There was comfort in that belief, a quiet certainty that my foundation was solid. Looking back now, I realized that comfort was built on carefully arranged pieces, each place to hide a truth that would one day collapse everything I thought I knew. My sibling and I were close, closer than most. We shared secrets, defended each other, and moved through life as a unit. If I was scared, they were my shield. If they were struggling, I was their anchor. That bond felt unbreakable, forged through shared childhood memories and mutual trust. People often commented on how lucky we were to have each other. I believe that too. I never imagined that the person I trusted most would be the keeper of a secret powerful enough to rewrite my entire identity and fracture the meaning of family forever. Our upbringing felt simple. School, chores, weekend outings, family gatherings. Nothing dramatic, nothing suspicious. Yet, there were moments, tiny, easily dismissed moments, that now replay in my mind like warning signs I refuse to read. Conversations that stopped when I entered a room. Glances exchanged between adults that felt heavier than words. Stories that changed slightly depending on who told them. At the time, I assumed it was normal family inconsistency. Everyone remembers things differently, right? That's what I told myself, unaware that those inconsistencies were cracks forming beneath my feet. Sometimes, I felt like I didn't fully belong, though I couldn't explain why. At family events, I'd laugh and participate, yet feel strangely distant, like I was watching myself play a role. It wasn't loneliness, just disconnection. I blamed it on personality differences, stress, or growing up. I never suspected it was instinct. Something deep inside me sensed the truth before my mind could accept it. That quiet discomfort followed me into adulthood, lingering like a shadow I could never outrun, patiently waiting for the moment it would finally reveal its source. The day everything changed did not announce itself with drama. No thunder, no warning. It started as an ordinary conversation, casual, almost careless. We were alone, talking about the past, reminiscing about childhood memories and family moments. Then my sibling said something small, something off, referring to our father in a way that felt oddly detached. I laughed it off, assuming I misunderstood, but they didn't laugh back. Silence filled the space between us, thick and uncomfortable. My chest tightened. Instinctively, I knew I was standing at the edge of something irreversible. When the truth came out, it didn't arrive gently. It felt like a weapon. My sibling finally said the words they had been holding for years. The man I had always called my father was not my biological father. My mother had an affair before I was born. The family chose to stay together, to pretend nothing happened. Everyone knew the truth, except me. My sibling had been told as a teenager and sworn to secrecy to protect the family. Their voices trembled as they spoke, eyes fixed on the floor. The room seemed to shrink around me. Shock numbed me before pain could reach me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring, trying to reject what I'd heard. This couldn't be true. It didn't fit. It didn't make sense. But deep down, something clicked. The unexplained distance. The strange looks from relatives. The moments I never felt fully connected. They aligned with terrifying precision. In that instant, I understood why something had always felt wrong. Reality cracked open, and I stood inside the ruins, realizing my entire life story had been carefully edited without my consent. I began replaying memories instantly. Childhood moments, family photos, conversations with my father, his silences, his restraint, the way affection sometimes felt measured. Every interaction became suspect. What was genuine? What was the obligation? What did everyone know that I didn't? The betrayal wasn't just about the affair. It was about time stolen from me. Years lived under false assumptions. Love built on omission. I felt robbed of honesty, of choice, of the right to understand my own origin. The weight of it pressed against my chest until breathing felt like work. Confronting my sibling was inevitable, and it was ugly. Questions poured out of me. Sharp, desperate, relentless. Why didn't you tell me? How long have you known? Who else knows? Each answer cut deeper than the last. They cried. I didn't. I felt hollow, suspended between rage and grief. They spoke of fear, pressure, and loyalty to our parents. None of it felt like enough. Love doesn't justify this heavy silence. Trust doesn't survive secrets this large. That conversation changed us permanently, drawing a line between who we were and who we could never be again. After that night, emotions came in waves. Anger hit first, hot, consuming, relentless. Then grief, mourning not a person but a version of life that never existed. Confusion followed, leaving me exhausted, questioning my place in the world. Some days I felt fine. Other days I felt shattered by something as small as a childhood song or a family joke. Trauma doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers, sneaking into ordinary moments and turning them unbearable without warning. The secret didn't just damage my relationship with my sibling. It infected the entire family. Conversations became tense. Gatherings felt forced. Everyone moved carefully around the truth, unsure of what could be said aloud. I saw guilt in my mother's eyes, silence in my father's. Trust eroded quietly. I realized secrets don't stay contained. They leak, poisoning relationships that had nothing to do with the original lie. Family, once a source of comfort, became a place of emotional landmines, where one wrong step could reopen wounds that never fully healed. I struggled with identity more than anything else. Who was I, really? What parts of me were shaped by lies? I questioned my name, my history, my sense of belonging. Mirrors felt strange, as if I were looking at someone I'd never been properly introduced to. The foundation I stood on had shifted, and I had to rebuild myself without clear instructions. Identity, I learned, isn't just personal. It's inherited, narrated, and deeply influenced by the stories we're told about where we come from. I needed answers, even if they hurt. I asked uncomfortable questions. I listened to explanations that felt incomplete. Some truths clarified things. Others made the pain sharper. But I learned that understanding isn't always about peace. It's about grounding yourself in reality. Knowing the full story, even when it's ugly, gave me something solid to stand on. I couldn't change the past, but I refused to continue living in confusion. Silence had already taken enough from me. Healing was not linear. Some days I wanted reconciliation. Other days I wanted distance, so wide it felt like exile. Forgiveness became a complicated concept. Not a single decision, but a slow, exhausting process. I had to accept that protecting my peace didn't make me cruel. Setting boundaries didn't make me ungrateful. Choosing myself for once felt unfamiliar but necessary. Love without honesty, I realized, is fragile. And I was done carrying the weight of secrets that were never mine to hold. The family dynamic shifted permanently. Roles changed. Power changed. Conversations grew more intentional. Some bonds strengthened. Others faded quietly. I stopped expecting things to return to normal, because normal had never existed. What we had now was different, more fragile, more honest, more uncomfortable, but also more real. Truth has a way of stripping away illusions, leaving only what can survive without pretending. Not everything made it through. Through the pain, I discovered strength I didn't know I had. I learned to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. I learned to trust my intuition. I learned that resilience isn't loud. It's choosing to keep going when your foundation collapses. The truth broke me, but it also forced me to grow. I became more self-aware, more intentional, more honest with myself and others. From the ashes of deception, I began rebuilding a life rooted in authenticity rather than fear. Years later, the impact still lingers. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. I question narratives. I listen closely to what isn't said, but I'm no longer bitter. I understand now that secrets are often born from fear, not cruelty. That doesn't excuse them, but it explains them. Understanding brought me peace, not because the pain disappeared, but because it stopped controlling me. Now I see family differently, not as blood alone, but as honesty, accountability, and choice. Family is not who shares your DNA. It's who respects your right to truth. I've learned that love cannot thrive in silence, and that protecting someone from the truth can sometimes cause the greatest harm. Secrets may feel heavy to carry, but they're heavier for the people forced to live in their shadow. This experience taught me that truth, while painful, is freeing. It gives you back ownership of your story. It allows you to choose how to move forward. Lies steal that power. And no matter how well-intentioned, they always leave damage behind. If you've ever sensed something wasn't right in your own family, trust that feeling. If you're holding a secret out of fear, consider the cost. And if you've been hurt by the truth, know this: you are not broken. You are rebuilding. In the month that followed, I learned that healing is not something you achieve once and move past. It revisits you in unexpected ways. A casual comment, a family photo, a familiar laugh can reopen emotions you thought were settled. I stopped judging myself for that. Instead, I began allowing the feelings to come and go without resistance. Healing, I realized, is not about erasing pain, but about learning how to live honestly alongside it without letting it define every moment of your life. I also learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means releasing the belief that anger must be carried forever. Some days I felt closer to forgiving. Other days I felt miles away. Both were valid. I stopped forcing timelines on myself. The pressure to move on often comes from people who have never had their sense of self taken apart. True forgiveness, I discovered, happens quietly, when you no longer feel consumed by the need for answers that will never fully satisfy you. My relationship with my sibling never returned to what it was, but it didn't disappear either. It transformed. There was distance, then careful communication, then moments of honesty we never had before. Trust had to be rebuilt from the ground up, slowly and imperfectly. We spoke openly about fear, guilt, and the weight of carrying a secret that should never have been placed on their shoulders. That honesty didn't erase the damage, but allowed something new to exist, something fragile, yet real, with my parents. The journey was even more complicated. Love didn't vanish, but it changed shape. I had to accept that they were both capable of deep care and profound failure at the same time. That duality was difficult to hold. Some days I felt empathy. Other days resentment resurfaced. I learned that maturity doesn't mean choosing one emotion over the other. It means allowing both to exist without denying either. That understanding became a turning point in how I related to them and to myself. Outside my family, I became more selective with trust. Not closed off, but intentional. I paid attention to consistency, honesty, and emotional accountability. I stopped oversharing with people who hadn't earned access to my vulnerability. At the same time, I learned the value of chosen family. Friends who knew my story and stayed, who didn't minimize my pain or rush my healing. Their presence reminded me that connection doesn't have to come from blood to be genuine and life-giving. Identity slowly began to settle again, not as it once was, but as something newly formed. I stopped defining myself solely by where I came from and focused instead on who I was becoming. I learned that origins matter, but they do not imprison you. You are allowed to rewrite your narrative. You are allowed to grow beyond the circumstances that shaped you. That realization gave me a sense of freedom I had never known before, one built on choice rather than inherited silence. There were moments of grief that surprised me, grief not just for the truth itself, but for the version of myself that existed before it, the person who trusted easily, the person who believed family meant unquestioned safety. Letting go of that innocence felt like losing something irreplaceable. But over time, I understood that what replaced it wasn't cynicism, it was wisdom, a deeper, steadier understanding of love that includes honesty, boundaries, and accountability. I became more comfortable with difficult conversations. I stopped avoiding discomfort for the sake of peace. Silence, I learned, often protects problems rather than people. Speaking up felt risky at first, but each honest conversation strengthened my sense of self. I no longer wanted relationships that survived on avoidance. I wanted connections that could withstand truth, even when it was uncomfortable. That shift changed how I showed up everywhere, in friendships, in love, and in my own self-reflection. Looking back, I no longer wish I had never learned the truth. As painful as it was, it gave me clarity. It gave me agency. It allowed me to stop living in a story that wasn't fully mine. The truth didn't destroy me. It exposed what needed healing. And while the cost was high, the freedom that followed was real. I would rather live with a difficult truth than a comforting lie. No matter how well-intentioned that lie might be, time has softened some edges, but it has not erased a lesson. I now understand how easily families convince themselves that silence is kindness, how quickly protection turns into control, how often the truth is delayed in the name of stability, without considering the long-term damage. These realizations change how I think about honesty, not as cruelty, but as respect. Everyone deserves the dignity of knowing their own story. There are still days when the weight of it all returns, usually in quiet moments, but those days no longer scare me. They remind me how far I've come. Pain doesn't mean failure. It means something mattered. And growth doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying your past without letting it dictate your future. That understanding has become a grounding force in my life. If you're listening to this and carrying a family secret, I want you to know something important. The burden feels heavier over time, not lighter. Silence doesn't make truth disappear. It only delays its impact. And when the truth finally surfaces, it often hurts more because of how long it was hidden. Ask yourself who the silence is really protecting and who it's quietly harming. And if you're on the other side, if you've discovered a truth that changed how you see your family, give yourself patience. There is no correct way to feel. Anger, sadness, confusion, relief, they can all exist at once. Healing doesn't require immediate forgiveness or understanding. It requires honesty with yourself and permission to move at your own pace. Families are complicated. They're made of love, fear, loyalty, and mistakes. Accepting that complexity doesn't mean excusing harm. It means seeing people fully, without illusion. Sometimes healing means reconciliation. Other times it means distance. Both choices are valid when made with self-respect and clarity. What matters most is that you don't abandon yourself trying to keep others comfortable. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about resilience, about learning that identity is not fragile, even when its foundations are shaken. You are more than the secrets that shaped your past. You are more than the silence you were raised in. You are defined by what you choose to do with the truth once you have it. The truth changes people, but it also gives them the chance to become more honest versions of themselves. It invites growth where denial once lived. It demands courage from those who speak it and those who receive it. And while it may fracture relationships, it also has the power to create deeper, more authentic ones. I now believe that family isn't proven by how well secrets are kept, but by how safely truth can be spoken. Love that cannot survive honesty was never as strong as it appeared. And love that grows stronger after truth is revealed is worth protecting. So I ask you, have you ever felt like something in your family didn't quite add up? Have you ever sensed the truth just beneath the surface, waiting to be acknowledged? Or have you been the one holding a secret, unsure of when or how to release it? What do you think is more damaging, learning a painful truth or living an entire life shaped by a lie? Is there ever a right time to tell the truth, or only the courage to finally say it? If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might help someone else feel less alone. And remember this, the truth may break illusions, but also gives you the chance to rebuild something real, something honest, something truly your own.